Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Saima Amir and I am in teacher training course in FIT Islamabad campus, Rehan Academy. And today is my fourth ChatGPT. So let's get started. ChatGPT, are you ready?
Absolutely. I'm ready. I'm excited to help you out today. What would you like to focus on in our session?
Okay, ChatGPT, my topic is the secret of building lasting habits.
That's a really great topic. There's a lot to explore, like how small, consistent actions build up over time, or how to design your environment to support those habits. What angle would you like to dive into first?
Okay, ChatGPT, my first question is what is habit and how does it form?
That's a great starting point. So, a habit is basically a behavior that we do automatically, often triggered by a cue or context. It forms through repetition. So, when we consistently repeat a behavior in a specific context, it gets encoded in our brain. And eventually, we do it without even thinking.
Okay, ChatGPT, can you please tell me why do some habits last while others fail?
Yeah, that's a really important question. Some habits last because they're tied to strong rewards or because they're easy to maintain. Others fail if the cues are weak, if there's not a clear reward, or if the habit is just too big to start with. So, small, consistent steps tend to be the key.
That's good. Can you please tell me are habits more physiology or behavioral?
That's a great point. They actually involve both. Habits start as behavior, but over time they get anchored in our psychology, like our cravings, motivations, and routines. So they're a mix of both physical action and mental patterns.
Okay, please tell me what makes small habits powerful over time.
Yeah, absolutely. So small habits are powerful because they compound. When you do a tiny action every day, you build up momentum. Over weeks, months, even years, these small steps lead to huge changes, and they're also easier to stick with since they don't feel overwhelming.
Okay, please tell me how do habits shape personal identity?
Yeah, definitely. So when we repeat a habit, it kind of reinforces how we see ourselves. For example, if you work out every morning, you start to think of yourself as an active person. So your habits become a way of expressing and shaping who you are.
Okay, ChatGPT, can you please tell me why is starting small important when building habits?
Yeah, that's really crucial. Starting small keeps you from feeling overwhelmed, and it makes it easier to be consistent. When the habit is tiny, you can build that daily repetition without a lot of resistance. And once you have that momentum, you can expand gradually.
Okay, please tell me how do daily routine influence long-term success?
Yeah, daily routines are really powerful because they set the foundation for those habits. When you have a routine, you reduce decision fatigue, you build consistency, and you create a predictable structure, which helps you stay consistent over time.
Okay, can you please tell me can habits change personality or mindsets?
Absolutely. As you consistently practice a habit, it can reshape how you think and feel about yourself. Over time, you build new skills, develop confidence, and shift your mindset. So your habits really become part of who you are and how you see the world.
Is motivation necessary to build lasting habits?
Motivation can be helpful, but it's not actually required for long term success. What really matters is building a system and relying on consistency. When you build cues and routines, even on days you're not super motivated, you still show up and keep going.
Why do people lose motivation after starting strong?
Yeah, that's really common. At first, it feels exciting, but once the novelty fades or challenges come up, it's harder to keep that initial drive. That's why building steady routines and anchoring habits in your identity helps. So even when motivation dips, you still keep going.
Answer. How can a mindset support habits consistency?
Yeah, mindset is huge. When you see yourself as someone who sticks to their habits, you create a kind of internal narrative that pushes you forward. So when challenges come up, instead of thinking, I can't do this, you tell yourself, this is who I am. I keep showing up.
Okay, please tell me why is patience critical in habit building?
Yeah, patience is really key because lasting change takes time. You won't see huge results overnight, and that's okay. When you trust the process and stay patient, you allow those small changes to accumulate and really stick.
Okay, please tell me how does identity based habit building work?
Yeah, definitely. So, habit building works by stacking cues, routines, and rewards. You anchor a new behavior to something you already do, like after brushing your teeth, you do a short stretch. Then, over time, repetition and small rewards keep it going, and eventually it becomes automatic.
Okay, please tell me what is the best way to start a new habit?
Yeah, the best way is to keep it really small and specific. Pick one tiny action, like 2 minutes of a new habit, and tie it to an existing routine. That way, there's a clear cue and success feels easy from the start. Once it sticks, you can grow it bit by bit.
What is the best way to start a new habit?
Great question. A really effective way is to tie it to an existing habit. Like, for example, after you have your morning coffee, you do a quick 5-minute stretch. And also start with a super easy, low effort version of the habit so you don't get discouraged. Once it feels natural, then you can build on it.
Okay, please tell me how can tracking progress improve habits consistency?
Yeah, absolutely. Tracking progress gives you a clear visual of how you're doing, so you can see the small wins every day. It also keeps you accountable because when you see your streak, you don't break it. So it kind of turns habit building into a concrete, visible practice, which boosts consistency.
Okay, please tell me why do people quit habits after a few weeks?
Yeah, that happens a lot because the initial excitement fades, and sometimes people set too big a goal too quickly. When progress isn't instant, they get discouraged. So staying patient, keeping the habit small, and being flexible helps people push through that rough patch.
How should someone recover after breaking a streak?
Yeah, that's a great question. The key is to be kind to yourself and just get back on track as soon as you can. You don't have to be perfect, just pick up where you left off, keep your small steps going, and remember that setbacks are just part of the process.
Okay, can you please tell me what are common habits building mistakes?
Yeah, for sure. Some common mistakes are trying to change too much at once, setting vague goals, relying only on motivation, or not having a clear cue. The more specific and gradual you are, the more likely you are to succeed.
Okay, please tell me how do social influence affect habits?
Yeah, definitely. So social influences are really powerful because the people we surround ourselves with often shape our behaviors. When you have a supportive community or peers who have similar habits, it makes it easier to stay consistent because you feel that social accountability and encouragement.
Okay, please tell me how do you stay consistent during busy periods?
Yeah, that's a big challenge. The trick is to keep it really simple. Even when you're busy, just carve out a tiny amount of time, like 2 or 3 minutes, and do the habit. That way, you keep the consistency, and once things calm down, you can ramp up again.
Okay, when does a habit become automatic?
Yeah, so a habit usually starts to feel automatic after a few weeks or even a couple months of consistent practice. Once your brain links the cue and the action without you thinking about it, that's when it really clicks and becomes second nature.
Okay, please tell me how can habits lead to personal transformation?
Yeah, absolutely. When you repeat small positive habits, they shape your daily actions, which eventually reshape your identity. Over time, these steady changes build confidence, self discipline, and a sense of purpose. So your habits really become the foundation for who you want to become.
That's good. Can you please tell me how do habit influence health and well-being?
Yeah, for sure. So when you build healthy habits like regular exercise, good sleep, or balanced eating, they add up to better physical and mental well being. They reduce stress, improve energy, and create a stable foundation for a healthier life.
Okay, please tell me how do habits impact career growth?
Yeah, absolutely. Habits shape your daily productivity and skills. When you consistently practice things like time management, learning, or networking, you gain expertise and build a reputation. Over time, these habits create momentum, helping you advance in your career.
Okay, tell me how can someone sunset and habits for life?
Yeah, that takes a bit of intention. You want to connect your habits to your core values or a long term vision. Make them meaningful, keep them adaptable as life changes, and celebrate small wins. When a habit aligns
Okay,
with who
my
you want to
question
be, it
is
sticks for the
what is
long
the
run.
true secret behind lasting habits?
That's a great question. I think the real secret is making them tiny, consistent, and tied to your identity. So when you see yourself as someone who sticks to those small habits, they become part of who you are. And that's what really drives them to
Okay,
last.
tell me how can habits lead the personal transformation?
Yeah, definitely. So when you repeat small positive habits every day, they build up into bigger changes. Over time, they shift your confidence, your skills, and how you see yourself. And that continuous intentional effort is what leads to that deeper personal transformation.
Okay, thank you so much. This is my session. I hope you like it. So next time, stay tuned to the half
Absolutely.
wins.
You're very welcome. I'm really glad we could go through this together. Definitely keep up the great work, and I'm looking forward to next time. Take care.